So as a resident in the western suburbs of Sydney, one of the most prominent impacts of climate change would have to be the increasing intensity and frequency of heat waves. And in particular, I realized that when you live in energy inefficient or poorly designed buildings, it's very difficult to stay cool and safe during these sweltering periods. And that's translated to me into an awareness of how the impacts of climate change are spatially differentiated, disproportionately impacting marginalized, disadvantaged communities or people in peripheral spaces.
So I might be studying in Japan now, but I'm actually coming from France, from the southern region, the French Alps. In recent years, the winters have gotten a lot warmer. We're getting a lot less snowfall. Biodiversity in the mountain has become a lot less diverse. This is a threat for my community because in my home, tourism is the main source of revenue and the main economy.
The effects of climate change in the country are manifested and felt in our food supply and in the varying weather in the country. For example, extreme drought or extreme flooding brought about by climate change can gravely affect the productivity of our agriculture and fisheries sector. More so, global warming also intensified the calamities that we face. For example, super typhoon, which isn't something that we would consider as normal 10 years ago. But because of the continuous warming of the ocean, we are now unfortunately expecting it to hit us at least once a year.
This is urgent. There is no time to lose. We have to make sure that this planet is safe for humans to live. For everyone, not just the rich. I'm Chris Tremuren from APRU. We are a network of 57 universities around the Pacific Ocean, Asia, North and South America, Australia and New Zealand. Many of you are joining Solve Climate by 2030. We can do this and we can do much more. Together we can make a difference. Let's do it.
I actually believe that everyone can do a little bit of something to fight climate change.
We've seen how the climate crisis is mobilizing an entire new generation of active performative citizens, with students in schools and universities acting in solidarity and participating in protests, demanding change.
Also, we must demand accountability from big-scale polluters such as the big companies who dominate the market and the government who leads the country, because as long as these two refuse to act upon it and neglect the reality of climate change, all our individual efforts such as tree planting or shifting to a zero waste and green lifestyle will all be disregarded, because fighting a big and complex issue such as climate change requires collective action.
Now, following this amazing video, which gives me bumps again and again, I'd like to welcome you all and say hello for joining this information session jointly organized by APRUxBard College. It's great to see many of the faces that we know, many interested colleagues here from APRU and also some partner institutions across the Asia Pacific. Now, thank you for coming here. And the aim for this session today is to inform you about the next phase of Solve Climate by 2030. This is aiming to bring us closer to our target of mobilizing 1 million students globally to engage in action-oriented dialogues about climate change solutions and justice. But before we go into the session, let me just briefly recap a little bit. I'd like to address why APRU decided last year to partner with Bard College to support this global initiative. I'd also like to tell you a little bit why, as part of this, we have been providing the platform for universities in the Asia Pacific to engage their students, their academics, and external partners in this highly effective and very well received global climate change dialogue. And also as part of this, in addition to the video that you just saw, I'll give you some highlights what we actually collectively achieved last year already on this. So I'm sure that all of you here are aware that over the last year, especially specifically, environmental degradation and climate change have been key news items that have been very high on the agenda across the world. And that was partly due to the increased number of natural disasters that are happening all across the continents. And many of you have been probably affected by these, as well as the lead up to COP26. And we all know what that is. We have heard about it and seeing it in the news. And also the release and the very scary findings of the last IPCC report. So all of these individual happenings have basically refocused priorities and caused many people, organizations, and arguably also governments to pay closer attention to key climate change issues. And that's also why we are really here today. Now, COP26 is now drawing to a close in Glasgow on the other side of the globe. But over the last week, we have heard from governments' efforts, and about, to be honest, their quite limited successes to implement the required climate actions and pledges following the Paris Agreement 5 years ago. And already before the start of this year's COP meetings, scientists have been highlighting that current emissions reduction targets will need to be much more ambitious. And then also the G20 meetings that occurred recently offered no real leadership or concrete actions to fight for a limited 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature increase. And we already know, based on scientific evidence, that any increase in temperature that will bring us closer to the 2 degrees will be the equivalent of a death sentence to many people that are most affected by the impacts of climate change. And that was also a stark warning that was issued by the Prime Minister of Barbados at the COP opening just last week. So it seems we really cannot just rely on politicians, governments, or business leaders to find the required solutions, even though what we just heard in the video, that is collective action that gets us there. But I think maybe we need to take a leadership role on this one. So instead of waiting, one of our most powerful and effective ways to initiate climate action will be by mobilizing our collective student body, you students, to raise the alarm and take action. So we as APRU, as the collective, can provide the platform, the fora, and the intellectual support to help your students to initiate and drive forward climate action, where unfortunately officials and governments are still acting way too timidly and are too slow. So this is why APRU last year reached out, actually beginning of this year, reached out to Bard College, to the colleagues, and as a partner supported the engaging of 1 million students globally on climate change action. And as a result, we had in total 10,000 participants globally join the Solve Climate sessions earlier this year, and close to 3,000 of these participants joined the sessions from our APRU universities, which is fantastic. So APRU members also brought together and engaged over 60 external climate experts through these sessions from key national, international, and local stakeholder groups. And that included government, NGO foundations, and businesses. And they came to these important discussions with you students, really. And the interest that these sessions generated with external experts, student body, and across the media was really a true testament of how effective and truly important collective action can be in addressing climate change. So today, we've got David and Ivan from Bard College, who will introduce to you the plans for the upcoming worldwide Teachin for Climate and Justice that are set to take place early next year. And the colleagues will set out what support frameworks are in place and how to support how APRU members can support the engagement, to ensure that students are again at the forefront of this important movement. And it really is for us to ensure that the voices of these people cannot be ignored. So, and with that, and with further ado, I'd like to hand over to either David or Eben.
Christina, it's Eben here. And I just wanted to start off with a tremendous thank you and a deep expression of gratitude to all of the faculty and staff in the universities that comprise APRU for such tremendous leadership in the Solve Climate work last year. I'll talk a little bit about what we accomplished collectively around the world, but certainly your group was really instrumental in bringing thousands, tens of thousands of people to the table to learn about the climate solutions and discuss climate solutions in their regions. So what I would like to do today would be to explain how we intend to scale up our work, because this week at the COP meetings, the youth delegations in particular, you know, I like what they said. They said now, not next month, not next year, now. And so tonight, we all can make a commitment to ramping up our efforts, increasing our efforts, so that we move from engaging 100,000 people last year to 1 million people next year. And I think that's the kind of ambition and goal that does justice to what the young people in Glasgow have been calling for. And again, I don't think with this group, we don't need to explain why we're here. It's just that at this moment as educators, there's really no more important work for us to be doing than to figure out how working together we can be stronger, and we can leverage our efforts to really get our students beyond the sort of climate despair that many of them are feeling into a really strong sense of agency, that they have 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of their lives ahead of them in which the work that they're going to do is going to make a tremendous difference, right? And I think no generation before them will affect the future of the planet as much as they will in these next couple of decades. So we really want to inspire them with the idea that whatever they do as citizens, as voters, as volunteers, and probably most importantly, in the work that they choose, the career directions they move as artists or scientists or engineers or business people, that's really how they can really change the future, because all work can be climate work now. And I think we want to communicate that. So just one story: last year in France, in Lyon, University of Lyon, a student came up to one of the Teachin organizers after the event and said, you know, I'm an engineering student. I'm about to graduate. I was planning to go work for the oil industry. I can't do that anymore. I just can't. And I want to put my skills and my talents to work stabilizing the climate. And I think that is the kind of inspiration that we want to provide to students through this event we're calling the Worldwide Teach-In. So what I'd like to do is share some slides to give you a sense of the project, take questions. We'd also like to show you our website and sort of the resources that we have there to support you this year. So let me do that. I'll share my website here, my slideshow. So we are moving in conjunction with APRU, Brak University in Bangladesh, a number of other global universities, and all of you to scale our work to what we're calling a worldwide teach-in on climate and justice set for March 30th, 2022. That word teach-in, what does that mean? Well, what it really means is we're trying to create a meeting, an educational meeting that really engages students. And it's not top-down information delivery. It's not lectures. It's not students watching movies. It's really an opportunity for faculty and students to work together to brainstorm solutions. That is the vision behind what we call a Teachin. In English, that word emerged out of the 60s with the Teachins around anti-war and other initiatives in that decade. So that is the idea that we are trying to accomplish here. As you all know, we were very active the last couple of years through the Solve Climate Project, and with your help, we sponsored these webinars all over the world, and we produced this amazing library of resources. So we actually have fabulous content from around the world. So if you or your students want to find out what does a green recovery and climate solutions look like in Uruguay or Taiwan or South Africa or Rwanda or Singapore or Ecuador or Serbia or the Netherlands or Malaysia or Mexico or New Zealand or Peru, we have this information. We have wonderful content featuring climate experts, youth activists, indigenous voices, really describing a path forward for all of these regions. And the webinars can be used and can help inform your teach-ins. And so we now, again, we want to move beyond the webinar format where possible, where COVID has receded enough to allow in-person engagement, to really bring hundreds of students on each of your campuses together to focus on solutions. We want to move from 110 schools to 1,000 colleges, universities, high schools, K-8 schools. 1 million participants is our goal for 2022. Okay, how does one do this? How does one organize an event on your campus that will engage hundreds of students in this kind of conversation? And in particular, given the limited attention that any of us can put on this, because we all have other things we have to do, what sort of easy model can bring that many people together? So we have a number of models on our website, and we just want to stress that any event counts. 1 hour, 3 hours, all day, 2 days, all week, whatever you want to do, we're very happy to count as part of our teach-in. But we think that a 3-hour model is a good thing to shoot for. If you can have an event that runs, say, from 6 to 9 in the evening, 5 to 8 in the evening, this is a way to bring everybody together. And at the college and university level, we've discovered that the real key to success is faculty engagement. And that if you can get faculty leading this event, and a number of them, that this signals to students what's important, and those faculty can require or inspire their students to come. So we're going to give you a model that involves 36 faculty presenters in one evening. And if you have 36 faculty showing up to discuss climate change at your teach-in, you will get 300 or more students involved. And if each institution gets that many, then we're on our way to our 1 million students. We've done this at Bard. We did it just before the pandemic. We've done it many times, so we know that it works. And the basic model is, and again, this is just one model. We'll discuss some other models in a few minutes, is concurrent panels. So you have a series of panels that are going at the same time. And on each panel, you invite 4 faculty members. And these faculty members don't need to be climate experts. In fact, they're typically not. They're just climate concerned. They've been following climate change in the news. And you ask each of them to speak for 5 minutes about how climate change relates to their discipline. So you might have a session on climate injustice in the first hour, where you have an economist talking about green recovery, Green New Deal, a politics faculty member talking about how rising inequality is contributing to climate change, a sociologist talking about investing in communities. You can have a session on climate science where you bring in your science faculty. Then a session on winning the story wars, so really communication. So you've got film faculty members or communications or philosophy and religious studies. You can have a session on climate solutions that features your language faculty, talking about global responses to climate change. So you could have a Chinese instructor or a Spanish instructor or a French instructor talking about how climate change is playing out in a Chinese-speaking, French-speaking, or Spanish-speaking countries that their students are engaged with. So these are not climate experts, right? These are people that are following climate change in the news and are eager to serve and talk because they're worried about climate change. They're anxious about it, they're frightened, and they want to be part of helping students understand the moment and navigate through this. In the second hour, you do something very similar in terms of structure. You have a session on climate depression. How do we move beyond climate despair? So you could have artists talking about how artists are responding to climate change. You can have psychologists talking about how do you move beyond avoidance and despair. You can have literature faculty talking about writing about climate change and climate fiction. You could have a session on cities and climate where you've got historians or anthropologists or architecture faculty. So the exact structure of these things doesn't matter that much, but we're involving lots of faculty. And in the final session, really it should focus on solutions. What can we do as a university community? You should definitely invite your president or your chief financial officer, some official from the university to come engage with student activists and other members of the faculty or staff. But the focus should really be on what can we do as a university in terms of our own footprint, in terms of the education we provide, in terms of the way that we provide leadership for the outside world and the business world and the government world. So once again, the particulars of these sessions you can change, they don't matter. We'll give you a lot of examples on our websites. But this is a very straightforward way to get more than 30 faculty and staff presenting, more than 8 students moderating or presenting. So you've already got a strong base of participation, fields represented from anthropology to literature to history to sociology, business. And if you have those 36 faculty members, once again, you automatically will get hundreds of students participating because those faculty will be setting a leadership tone. Let me add that typically your college president or your dean will really like this. They like to encourage this kind of conversation between historians and mathematicians and chemists. Interdisciplinary dialogue doesn't happen very often on campus, but climate change is a very logical way to bring everybody together because there are so many people concerned about this issue and so many angles to introduce. So this seems hard to do and scary, but I really want to emphasize that it is actually very easy to organize, truly. It really only takes a team of 4 or 5 people, faculty, staff, students. We provide on our website these sample panels. There's more of them about the SDGs and food systems, and you can create your own. But it doesn't take long to build the structure that you envision for the evening. You can modify it if you desire. Then you have to brainstorm who to ask to speak. And that's not hard to do. If there's 4 or 5 of you, you probably have a good sense of who the climate concerned faculty are on in your university, and you can reach out to a number of them. You can send emails, which I've just recently done. They will all say yes to this because all they have to do is speak for 5 minutes several months from now. They care about climate change. There's not much prep. They'll be eager to be involved. So then you have your program, you have your speakers, you reserve rooms, you put the speakers' names and locations into your sample program poster, which we provide, and then you promote. This doesn't cost anything. There is no budget requirement. You don't have to invite outside speakers. You're relying just on the expertise within your faculty. So it's a very simple, a very straightforward model to really engage people broadly, and it creates tremendous energy. You bring 300 people together, all those faculty members, they're going to want to continue the dialogue once it's happened. So that is the one basic model of how you can move beyond the 20 or 30 students who will typically show concern about climate change, who've made a commitment already to devote their working lives to this. But we urge you to get creative. If this model does not seem right, then please change it. We've talked about this. We have other ideas for universities, high schools, K-8, and we'll share a bit of that with you in a moment when we look at the website. So, what do we need you to do? Well, the first thing we need you to do is to start to build out the teams who are going to make this happen. And the easy way to do that is to ask climate concerned teachers that you know, faculty and students, everyone you know who cares about climate change, to attend one of these information sessions. And they are the first Wednesday of every month. And we have some that are appropriate for East Asia in terms of timing. And so our next set is coming up on December 1st. So the most important thing for this fall is just to raise awareness about this project. You should pull a team together. You should send out an email to colleagues saying, save the date, you know, on March 30th, we're doing this teach-in and, you know, it's happening. Maybe ask them if they want to participate, but you don't have to do a lot of planning until after the new year, until early January. If you really start planning this in earnest in, you know, January 15th, it will take you a couple of weeks. You'll have your invitations, your program set by February 1st. That will give you 2 months to promote. This fall, the really important piece is outreach. And we really ask you to do personal outreach, because we all get 30 emails a day telling us to do this and that, and those emails just get deleted. So if you're going to reach out via email, really do it on a personal level and say, you know, this is Amy Chan reaching out. I'm really asking you to do this. This is really important. You really need to attend an information session for the worldwide teach-in. We have some short videos on our website as well that you can direct people to, and we'll provide you follow-up emails so that you can sort of explore our resources and understand how you can get people involved. But this is really old-fashioned person-to-person organizing is what's going to get us to 1,000 schools and 1 million people. We can't just rely on social media, on sending out emails. We really have to reach out on a one-to-one basis to the people we know who care about climate change and say now, not next month, not next year, now. The second thing you need to do is, as soon as you know that your university is going to do something, and that means that you personally are going to help lead this, right? Because you don't need to get permission typically for your university. If you get a few colleagues together, you can probably organize something without going all the way to the president's office for permission. Put your flag on the map. So go to our interactive website and please make a commitment. Let people know that your school is going to be involved. You don't need to know exactly what you're going to do. In fact, all you need to do is say, we're going to do something. So for example, if you look at Bangladesh and you clicked on that yellow button in Bangladesh right there, that would pop up and say BRAC University is planning an event for the worldwide teach-in on climate and justice. That's all it says. It doesn't really say anything more than we're going to do something. What you can do is go in and edit your event and add information as it begins to materialize. You can put in a link to a website, you can put in your program, but this is how people in your community are going to find your event. So as this thing goes viral in February and March, and people are going to be saying, I want to go to one of these worldwide teaching events, they'll be able to click on this map and find out through the information you provide how to access this and how to attend it. And actually, if you look at map today, David, I'm sure you saw this, there's a huge number of folks that just signed up in Africa. So Africa just got lit up today relative to what I'm showing you here. It's very exciting to see these bubbles pop up as people around the world are finding out about the Teachin opportunity and are signing up their schools to participate. So once again, this is a truly global initiative. We would love your help translating some of this information into your languages. We need to focus the world on the 30th of March in order to achieve this goal of solving climate by 2030. That is our obligation as educators, nothing more important now, not next month, not next year. We need to make this commitment. So with that, I'd like to pause and just see if we have any questions. And then we'd like to share our website with you, show you some of our resources, give you another idea for what a teach-in might look like. Do we have any questions?
Go ahead, please, Professor Cordova.
Yes, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Jimena Cordova from Ecuador, from Quito, Ecuador, from Universidad San Francisco de Quito. And the question that I have here is, well, actually, I have two questions. For this event, do they have to be only universities that belong to the network, the Asian Pacific network, or they could be just anybody, any university? Okay, great. That's good. That's really good.
Any university, yes.
Okay, and then the next question is, what type of evidence would you like to have, once the event takes place?
We will provide a form to all of the participants for feedback. And so the evidence we're looking for will be how many people attended and sort of what sort of structure you created. So for example, if you followed the model that we just suggested, how many panelists, how many faculty, what are some of the major topics covered. But the main issue we're really looking for is, we want to collect the numbers so we can see if we can roll this up to 1 million. That's our main goal. But we also want to share, right? So we'll have a chance for the organizers to come together after the event to talk about what happened. So it won't just be, a reporting form, but we'll actually want to hear from everybody about what worked, what didn't work, because we're going to do this again in 2023, right? So we're committed. We have funding for 2 years. So we want to get 1,000 schools this year. We want to get 5,000 schools in 2023. We want to get 5 million people in 2023 or more, because we have to, right? This is now, not next month, not next year. We have to grow this right now. So we want to learn from you about your successes so we can help other people have major events the following year.
And we should point out, we'll call on you in just a second, Brooke, that it's not just colleges and universities. We're also encouraging secondary schools and even primary schools, faith institutions, civic organizations, governments, everybody. So Brooke, you have your hand up, so please.
So this is following on from, say, last year, so it's going to be an annual event. Is that the proposal? Because we were involved in it last year, and I just wanted to find out what your expectations are for this year. Are you after something very similar to last year, or are you wanting to go along some other lines? We sort of had a very successful event last year. Actually, one of our people was in the video at the beginning of this meeting. So yeah, I'd appreciate your input there.
Last year, because of COVID, it was really producing these videos and marketing them to, and we had some very successful events. And a lot of the APRU events were very successful. I believe, some of your events in the Philippines and Malaysia, there were, well over 1,000 participants at some of those webinars, some of the biggest that we had. But the idea this year is really to move away, if you want, if you would like to do what you did last year as part of this, please, by all means, go right ahead. We're suggesting a different format that is focused less on sort of a top-down kind of information delivery model to more of a bottom-up discussion. Because each of the panels that I described, the faculty are talking for 5 minutes each. That's about 20 minutes of faculty presentation. But then there's 30 minutes for conversation. And because the students can go in 4 different rooms, it's really designed for students to feel like they're being intellectually engaged and challenged by the faculty about different perspectives on climate change that they can then, be a part of. And so this model is, it could work virtually. Actually, you could use the model that we're suggesting virtually, because you could have breakout rooms for those panels. So that's fine. You could do it that way. But the in-person sort of energy, we think, is important, because we're trying to energize our communities, both our faculty and our students, to want more and to do more.
Yep, sure. Okay.
And you can certainly use your video from last year as part of your week of events, right? So you could repurpose that video that you showed last year, maybe edit a little bit, shorten it, show that as part of your teach-in, maybe the night before to get people excited, or the night after. One thing that has been suggested is invite your local high schools to come to your events. And one thing you might do would be to work with your admissions team, who have links into those high schools, obviously. And they might be very excited to reach out to the high schools and invite those interested climate concerned high school students to come physically to your university, or virtually if you're doing it online, and experience kind of the university dialogue around climate. So involving your community that way is another idea to grow the size of your event. And also a good way to add to the energy of your organizing team. It's pretty rare that admissions faculty are invited to, or admission staff are invited to work with faculty on events. So I'm sure they would be very pleased to do that, and would provide lots of energy and resources to help grow your event.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, but by all means, if you had a successful webinar last year and you want that to be part of this, please do it. Okay, other questions? Well, maybe I will hop over to our website and kind of give you a sense of the resources that we have available.
Even before you did that, I did put a link in the chat for people to give us names of contacts, and somebody's already done that. Thank you for somebody in Shanghai. If you, whoever put the person's name in, if you could also give us your name, so that way when we contact your colleagues, then we can say so-and-so recommended that we contact you. It just makes it more likely that they're actually going to listen and open their email if the headline is so-and-so suggested that we contact you.
Yeah, so actually sort of getting back to this idea of kind of one-on-one outreach, we're glad to do that for you. So if you would like to, as David said, if you've got the names of 5 or 6 climate concerned people at your university or other universities, if you would drop those in the chat with their emails and your name, we will not add them to our email database without their permission, but we will send them one email that says, Joan Chan suggested contact, right? So they'll actually open the email because they know it's coming from someone they care about. We'll CC you on that, and we'll invite them to our next information session and tell them about it. So we're glad to kind of do the outreach if you can provide us names of folks that you think would like that. So here's our website. It is up now in Spanish. So I think that'll take us to our Spanish version. And we've got a whole number of other languages coming. So, and if you would like to, or have a student who would like to translate for the first and second pages of our website, the more languages we can have up here, the better. This is a way that we can engage your community more effectively. I'm really glad to work with you on that. So this is the main website. It's just in English, it's just worldwideteachin.org. Here's the sign up for the next information session, which is actually December 1st. We'll be changing that. We've got these very short little videos. David, I don't know if you saw this, but I've changed over to just a series of 4 like 2-minute videos that help people and sort of take them through the basic models that we have available. So that's a good way for people to get up to speed, and we can include those in the emails that go out. So very easy way to kind of engage. This is the link to the map. This is how you sign up for the project, and takes a minute to load up, but it's just here. You just hit this button, register for an event, and your map will pop up, and there we go. And as you can see, David, we had quite a lot of action in Africa in the last couple of days, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, this is our new partner in Africa, which is a organization of African youth leaders for peace and sustainable development.
Wonderful. We'd obviously love to see that Asia Pacific rim just sort of light up in the similar ways. We've got a lot of things going on already in South America. So please do get those bubbles on the map. Again, no firm commitment. We just want to know you're going to be, or you don't have to put the details. We just want to know you're going to be with us in March at this point. So going back to the Teachin website, the other main page is in the menu here. It's our how-to page. This is really the page that has all the details about the different Teachin models. So we've got college and universities, we've got middle schools and high schools. We're just finalizing one for faith communities, for churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, and also grades K through 6. So we talked about this one. This is the college and university model. We've got additional panels, food systems, the SDGs, sample posters. And you notice that in our poster, we actually call out the names of all the faculty members who are participating. And when we put this poster up last time, I had a number of faculty reach out to me and say, why couldn't I participate? You didn't invite me. So, you know, it's not hard to find those faculty on your campus who really care about climate change and want to help lead the conversation. So let me tell you briefly about another model that might work well for you. It's a little bit less faculty focused. We call it a high school model, but it may actually be a better model for some colleges and universities. The basic, all of these events will start with a 5-minute video that comes from the Worldwide Teach-In. It'll be very global. There'll be voices in many languages, but it will really introduce the the basic idea of a global event. We'll also have a closing video, which you can show so people can feel like they're part of something truly global with an intro video and a closing video. So a second Teachin model, 3 hours, is where you start in the first hour with kind of a getting questions on the table. That's sort of the idea. So you have a plenary panel. If it was a high school panel, it might have a principal, some faculty members, some students, or if it was a college level, it might actually have the president and some students and some faculty. And they just really go around the panel and say, what do you think about when you hear the word climate change? What is on your mind? And then also, what would you like to learn more about? What do you want to know more about when it comes to climate change? And maybe that's about climate science, or maybe it's about solar power, but what is the question you have? You could show a couple short videos, but then you want to break the whole group into smaller groups that are facilitated and have them ask the same questions. And the output of this session are large pieces of paper that have everyone's questions on those pieces of paper. All right. And they don't get answered that night, but the organizers commit to summarizing those questions and providing complete answers with links and everything. So this is the education component, but it's not done by lecturing and movies, and it's done by getting questions out on the table, and everybody seeing everybody else's questions, and then having those questions answered in a follow-up email. So that's the first hour. The second hour is a focus on just climate solutions. And here you tap into your faculty or community expertise, and you have breakout sessions on solar power, electric cars and trucks, artists and filmmakers responding to climate change, regenerative agriculture, urban agriculture, circular economy, ocean solutions, whatever you've got folks with, passion and interest, they can have breakout groups that people can attend and have little facilitated conversations about those solutions. And then in the third hour, it moves to a what can we do session that is kind of more focused on opportunities in the community or on campus. So you have, you invite in business leaders, nonprofit leaders, government agency folks, people who are, working on sustainability on campus to either sit on panels or have, booths that students can visit. And the students can learn very concretely about what they can do, as voters or as activists or as volunteers or as interns or for real work, for jobs when they graduate. And so they can start to think about how can they contribute now, not next month, not next year, now and next month and next year to climate solutions. And then once again, you come together at the end for the whole group, show the 5-minute video, and then you're done, right? So all of these models really focus on engaging people, talking about solutions, but then really focusing on concretely what are actions that we can take in our community in the near term. Two different approaches. Once again, we're just urging as much creativity and however it makes sense for your community to advance this. One other thing I wanted to mention, and I think most of you know about this because you participated last year. Once again, this year, we're going to have an internship, an online internship, social media for climate action. So this is a virtual internship. All of your students can participate, anyone who's interested. It's a 10-week internship. It'll start around January 24th. It'll run till April 4th. And the students meet once a week in a global session. So there'll be hundreds of students from all over the world. They will come together on Mondays, either early in the morning in Asia or late at night in the Americas. And they get together, they learn social media strategies, They break into regional teams. You know, they'll hopefully be an East Asia team and a Southeast Asia team and a South American team. And they build Instagram and TikTok and WeChat and, you know, all these social media sort of outreach to promote your teach-ins and the teach-ins in your region. So it's a lot of fun. It's not paid. We don't offer credit for it. You can offer credit for it if it works through your internship programs. But the students receive a certificate if they complete the internship from us. And I agree to write letters of recommendation for students who complete the internship as well. So that's kind of the reward for finishing the internship. But a lot of fun for the students. It's, you know, they get to work with students from all over the world. So it's a dynamic, and once again, we have our fabulous Masha Zabara, who taught the course last year, is going to be back. So it'll be very, very energizing and exciting for the students. We will, I think we're sending out that opportunity like today. So registration is opening this week for those opportunities. So if you're going to do a teach-in on your campus, please reach out to students, let them know about the opportunity. I'm sure a couple of them will want to participate. But even if you're not, we welcome students from all campuses to be part of that social media internship. So, you know, quick summary, once again, the three things I guess we need you to do. One is begin to form a team, pull together, you know, your team of 3 or 4, that's going to be your core team. That's all you need to do the basic teach-in. Send out a save the date to as many of your colleagues as you think are going to be interested and you can reach out to. We're going to start having organizing meetings. So if you want to join, just conversations about what's happening all over the world as people are putting these together. Those will start next week, November 17. We'll do those monthly until January, and then we'll go to bi-weekly. Those are optional, but just fun. They're, you know, they're exciting and energizing to hear what's happening around the world. So that's thing one, you know, sort of start low-level organizing, really begin organizing in earnest in kind of mid-January. Thing two, and this is really important right now, help us find more people to tell about this opportunity. And we need to get, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of people signed up for our December information session to really drive the kind of engagement that we need in this event. And then number 3, please plant your flag as soon as you can, because psychologically, that's what's going to drive engagement. People are going to look and say, oh, you know, there's a flag in Malaysia. That one's, you know, across, you know, the country. Let's have one here. And then, you know, there'll be 2 flags in Malaysia, and then there'll be 5, and then there'll be 10. And that's the kind of energy that we need to inspire each other to act again, you know, now, not next month, not next year, now. And that's one action we can take now, is make this commitment to being part of the teach-in next March. David, did I forget anything? Any resources we needed to share?
No, I think that was quite thorough.
Other questions?
I really appreciate you sharing the information about the internships. I know that was a huge draw for many of our universities last year, and the students quite enjoyed that experience. So I just encourage everybody on the call to consider, you know, nominating some students to participate in that as well. Just thank you to all the people who are here from APRU universities. I know that maybe this is something new, or this is something that you participated in last year, but I can say that it was very worthwhile. And when you see the impact that happens at the end of this. It's really rewarding experience. And like Eben had mentioned earlier, people want to continue that conversation that you start at your own university. So just thank you all for considering this opportunity to engage in this worldwide teach-in.
And David and I are always available for one-on-one conversation. If you'd like to schedule, you're not sure this is going to work at your campus, how would I do this? You know, one thing I did this year, I actually just sent out an email to all. We have access, so I can email all the faculty. And I sent out a kind of save the date, and I also created a Google form and said, you know, who wants to volunteer to do one of these 5-minute presentations? And they're already starting to pour in. So I don't even have to send individual emails. I'm going to have all the participants I need, I hope, just from this one email that I sent out to the faculty listserv. And we can provide a copy of that email and a copy of the form, so you don't have to invent that again. But, you know, lots of sort of creative ways to sort of build these events. One thing we haven't talked about was posters, where students produce, you know, posters in advance of the events, or music. Students could write music, share that. So, you know, they care. They want to figure out a way to be engaged. And I know that as you were considering this opportunity, it'd be great if you could keep me in the loop, and APRU and David and Eben, you're in good hands with them, and they have a lot of tools that you can engage in, but also APRU is here to help guide you through this experience and help support you in the ways that you need. And of course, as our members, we're here to help you with that. So so just I encourage you to keep us in the loop with what you decide to do, and we'll be able to assist you in whatever way possible.
Yeah, and I want to just once again thank our wonderful friends. First they were colleagues, now we're all friends at APRU for just doing so much to build your community into our community. And it's wonderful to be working with you.
Great, thank you everyone. I'll let you go on for the day. I know everyone is running off to something, but appreciate your time spending with us today. And thank you to David and Eben for introducing the idea to our network.
Thank you, Jackie and Christina, and please everyone, let's stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.